Hi, and welcome to Conversations With. Today, we visit with one of the most prolific running backs in Michigan football history. Jamie Morris held 10 Michigan records after he finished his career in Maize and Blue, including most career rushing yards. And while some of those have been eclipsed, it's still off the charts amazing. And by the way, he still holds the record for most career all-purpose yards, and he played his last game for Michigan way back in 1987. Jamie's story is inspiring because as a smaller running back, under 5'10 and less than 190 pounds, he destroyed the notion that smaller stature backs couldn't handle the Big Ten competition. His relationship with Bo Schembechler is a fabulous part of his history, and after some time in the NFL where he still holds a record, he is now back in Ann Arbor for his career as a broadcaster on WTKA as an afternoon sports talk show host. Enjoy Jamie and walk back into Michigan football in this conversation with Jamie Morris. Well, first things first, Jamie, I want to congratulate you for being a dad again so recently. Way to go. What's that like for you the second time around?
It's no easier, Jim. I mean, you forget everything. You forget everything from the first one, and you start from scratch again. You remember how early you had to get up, but he's got a good routine down now. I mean, he's been in this world. I can't believe we're coming up to, on Saturday, it'll be 5 weeks. So, and he has allowed us to sleep. He's taught us some things already. He wants to eat before he gets his diaper changed. But, I mean, other than that, he's allowed us to, he gets up around about 3:30 in the morning after we put him down at midnight. So he gets up at midnight. He gets up at 3, and then he gets up at 6. And these are times that we can work around that allows us to, work around him. But it keeps you young. I mean, I'm not a young guy anymore. I'm not that guy that can take a picture with former players and see. And now I see myself as the older spokesman in that picture. So
how many years is it between you kids?
Well, Kendall's 17 now.
Oh, 17
so
years.
There's 17 years. Kendall's going to be a senior this year.
Wow. Boy, and, time flies.
God willing. God willing, she gets to go to school to graduate because that's what she wants to do. But I think we're going to start the year off going virtual, and hopefully we get a handle on this and she's able to graduate from the actual high school.
Well, congratulations on both those kids. They're beautiful kids, and we wish you luck your second time around, man.
Thank you. If I'm as lucky as I was the first time, I'm a happy man. I'll be a happy man.
Great way to say it. Hey, let's get talking about your career. And you came to Michigan from Ayer, Massachusetts, and Bo recruited you. And I want to know why in the world you got to Michigan coming from Massachusetts with an older brother that went to Syracuse. Usually that means you're headed somewhere to the Big East.
Yeah. It's a long, winding road. I've loved Michigan since the 70s, I think. I've watched Michigan play. Being in Massachusetts, we didn't get a lot of Michigan games, but we always got the Michigan-Ohio State game, and I got a chance to watch them there, and always enjoyed those games. Wore my Maize and Blue all the time. I remember the vivid things there. I remember the Charles White game, USC in the Rose Bowl, and Charles White fumbled that ball, and Michigan lost, and I remember crying in the shower that night.
Oh, that's what probably put you over the edge, and you were a Michigan guy at that point, huh?
Yeah. Look, I've loved Michigan from afar for a long time. I love the pageantry.
Did the helmet kind of help sell you? Was that part of it?
Oh, my God, yeah. That was the first thing that I saw. It was all about the helmet. And my brothers, they actually didn't like the helmet.
Oh, is that right?
They said, they went like, that's too busy. They didn't particularly like the way it looked or anything like that. But I love the helmet.
Well, you're one of many of us that love that helmet. Here's the other thing. Your dad is a former Green Beret. And you head into Schembechler. And it's kind of like, well, from one Green Beret to another. So you were kind of ready. You were kind of ready for what Schembechler gave to his players when you walked in the door, weren't you?
Oh yeah. No, I was ready for his military type style. I was ready for his the things that he liked, the drill sergeant role. You know, the whole I'm going to break you down and then build you back up. That's what my dad did to us when we were young.
So you kind of had a leg up when you came, and how to handle and deal with a Schembechler who was very strict.
Yeah. And, you know, I was ready for it. It almost to the point I would get in trouble because it kind of reminded me at home. So it made me smile and laugh. You know, I would kind of like, and he would go, "What are you laughing at? What are you smiling about?" And, I said, and I finally told him, "Look, my dad did this to me my whole life. He did this to me and my three brothers. So, I mean, what you're doing, sometimes you're doing it right, sometimes you're not doing it right. So I get it." And it was just the style that I love to be, because look, I was homesick when I got here, but him being like that made me feel at home.
That's a great way to put it. And also, you had a great relationship with Bo over those 4 years. As a matter of fact, when Bo passed away, you were one of the players chosen to speak at his memorial at the stadium. Talk to me about how you developed that relationship from a guy who said when you came in, "Oh, I think he's going to be a decent little kickoff return guy," who ultimately turned out you to be Michigan's all-time leading rusher at one point.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I came down when I came in June, going into my freshman year, coming into for camp and everything. I remember I was reading the media guide, and it had WR next to my name. WR, I didn't come here for wide receiver. And I went down and I just spoke to Bo. And you know, the old meeting room where the coaches would be in the room, and you know, they'd be in there watching film and yelling back and forth at one another. And I knocked on the door, and Bo made me come in, and they all start looking at me and everything. And Bo's like, "Speak your mind." You know how Bo is.
Sure.
Speak your mind.
Yeah.
You're fine in this room. You're among friends. That's what he said to me. And I said, I don't want to play wide receiver, coach. I want to try out at running back. And he goes, "What?" I told him, I looked at the media guide. I saw WR next to my name. And he said, "What do you think, Carroll? We want to give him a shot?" And Coach Burton said, "Yeah, Bo, let's give him a shot. If it doesn't work, yeah, we can put him back at wide receiver." And he goes, "I'm going to give you an opportunity." And he said to me, "You better take advantage of that opportunity." And I remember him saying that. I was hop, skip, and jumping down to the football building at the time. And that building was just a cement. You remember that building was a cement block. And I went down there, and all I know is I was going to get an opportunity to play running back. And, when he gave me, and I remember him whispering in my ear when he said, "Give me Morris in here." And he goes, "Son, this is your opportunity. Don't fail me." And I guess I had some good blocking because I popped one pretty good, and he got angry at the defense and blew the whistle and run that play again. And I was able to get away again. I didn't run the way the play was designed, of course.
Yeah.
But I ran the daylight, and he got really mad at the defense. And after that, he called me to the side as we were walking back. We were practicing inside the stadium, and he said, "Keep doing what you're doing. You're looking good, Morris." And he pat me on the butt, and I'm like, "Wow."
Wow.
And then, it was like, I'm a freshman, and he slapped me on the butt, and that's all I needed. In golf, people say, "Why do you play golf? We're terrible at this game." That was my birdie. That's a birdie.
That was your one shot that got you back to this course, wasn't it?
Exactly. That made me come back harder and stronger. And, he always gave me little side notes. So I was practicing, and I twist my ankle. and it was a mild sprain, but I remember Russ Miller telling me that you may not want to dress today. I told Bo you're not going to dress, and I said, "Oh, I'm dressing. I'm fine. This is fine. I you know what? I used to have ankle sprains in high school all the time. Just wrap it up tighter, and we'll just get used to the pain, and after a while, then the limp will go away." And Russ Miller looked at me and goes, "You want to practice today?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." This is when the coaches know that you're hurt. We're all sweating. We're all going through the same pain. We're going through two-a-days. And for me not to show up, I mean, look at me. And he looked at me and he goes, "There ain't much to look at." I said, "Exactly. That's what everybody would expect, me not to show up." And so when I showed up, and I'm practicing and I get into the live drills and I'm doing what I'm doing, I mean, that you get the sidebar with him as you're walking away, and Bo's doing sidebars with everybody, encouraging everybody, but he goes, "You little son of a gun, I didn't know. They told me you weren't going to practice today." And I said, "Yeah, coach. Yeah, they told me the same thing." And I just ran away from there. And Coach Burton, my coach, the running back coach, Terrell Burton, said, "You know what? You're showing a lot of people a lot of good things. Keep doing what you're doing."
Coaches, more than anything, Jamie, you know this, they really respect toughness. And the ability to say, "Okay, I'm going to put the pain in the background and still get this done." And coaches understand that. And you doing that as a freshman was a statement. It almost, I think, shows that you had a little chip on your shoulder, the size thing. You weren't the biggest running back. Bo didn't think you could play the position. And Jamie Morris was going to tell everybody, "No, you're all wrong." That kind of entered into it, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even tell you about the weigh-in. So in our camp, it was the freshmen came in a week early before the upperclassmen. And, I was having a pretty good camp, and when they would try and play, I think it was the Friday before the upperclassmen reported, everybody was playing different positions. They tried everybody at different positions, except for me, Jim. I got to stay at running back. And I said, Coach Burton says, he said to me, he goes, "You're already playing your other position. You're playing running back. Remember, you came in as a wide receiver." So he reminded me, putting that in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So, and I laughed, and I kept playing running back. So when the upperclassmen came in, we did the weight. You had to do weight and height. It's that program, weight and height. And I remember when they weighed me, everybody's standing around in line waiting their turn. And I remember, and it was the freshmen first. And Jim, I had lost weight. So when I stepped up on that scale, as you say, when they say 5'6", 148 pounds,
Because they were going to take your uniform away from you. You weren't big enough. You were going to get hurt. That's what I heard. That's what I would have thought.
Well, some of the moans and groans were, "Where is he going to play?" I mean, God, I hope we don't hurt this kid. What's Bo doing? I mean, is this a charity case? And as a freshman, a 17-year-old kid coming into camp, and I mean, hearing that, I was hurt by it. I'm not gonna lie to you, Jimmy. I was ready to shed the tears, but it was Mike Gittleson who walked over to me and who had watched me all week before, and he told me, "They don't know what they about to see, do they?" He goes, "Everybody will doubt you until you show them what you showed me this week." It was Mike Gittleson who really instilled Mike Gittleson and John Falk. Because John Falk saw something in me too, because those two gave me the strength my freshman year to stay, to be a part of this, and that you have the skills. And Mike Gittleson said, "You're going to become my pet project because you have something inside you that you need to exhibit." They need to see it. You don't have to say anything, but they need to see what's inside you. And at the time, I thought that was coach speak. I didn't know. I believed in what he said.
That's huge to have that guy in your corner, some guy like that. Otherwise, your career probably isn't what it turned out to be.
Exactly. You're exactly right. To have that guy in my corner, that guy in particular in my corner, because he was always looking. He goes, I will be watching you when you don't think anyone's watching you. You will see an eye raise. You will not see me motion towards you, but understand, I'm watching you. So I knew he was always watching me, making sure that I was doing the right things. Here, he goes, I hear everything. I know everything. Anything you've done, I've already did. So understand that. I get it.
Yeah.
But you need, and he gave me those little tidbits, and they were always little nuggets when I needed them.
Yeah, and they know when to do it. And, you talked about Mike Gittleson. You talked about John Falk being there. The other guy I don't think gets a lot of credit. And I love this guy to death. He's gone. But Terrell Burton was your running backs coach. And in my opinion, he was an underestimated and underappreciated coach for the kinds of things he does. Not just technically to running backs, right? But mentally. And preparing you guys to be the running back at Michigan, which is a different spot than any other position.
No, Terrell Burton. See, I don't mention Terrell Burton because I get emotional. What's that thing? I was a child when I came to Michigan. And Terrell Burton took me under his wing. And
he's a great man.
He told him. He was. And he understood the game. And you were right. People underestimate Terrell Burton.
Yep.
He was one of the smartest in football, but he didn't want anybody to know it, and he didn't brag about it. But here's a guy who played the game, who knew the game, and who understood the game.
And to me, that was the beauty of Terrell Burton. It was the fact that, Terrell knew a whole lot about the game, but he wasn't going to broadcast that or try to let everybody know. He just made sure that he imparted that wisdom to his players. And I loved that about that guy. He was just one of my favorite people. And even on the golf course when we would play golf together, he was one of my favorite golf partners of all time.
Oh yeah. And that's it. It was always about golfing, and he would always give us, I'm like, Coach, I don't really know the sport of golf. He goes, you will. You will.
Yeah.
And he kept telling me, you'll understand golf as much as you understand football as we continue on. Yeah. You're going to be here for 4 years, so don't you worry. And he was always nurturing towards me. It was Gary Moeller. I went down the demonstration team, demo. And I remember I ran the plays that were called, but I was going to run hard. Jim, I'm not giving anybody a break. And why would I? I'm on the demonstration team. I'm trying to get to the other level.
Yeah, you're trying to get to the travel squad, all that stuff. I know. Exactly. I was in the same boat when I was a freshman and sophomore.
I'm giving them a look. And, Bo explained demonstration team, and he said, there's not a player on this squad that is played that has never been on the demonstration team. And he said to the full team in 1984, show a hand that never played demonstration team, and not a person raised their hand in that room. And I in my head I said, well, I'm not disrespecting. I respect everything about football, but I'm not going to be down here long. I'm going to give them the look of the lifetime. And I remember I was running around doing things, and we were Coach Moeller. We were a week and a half out from Miami of Florida. That we were playing Bernie Kosar and the former national champions. They were coming in. Biggest game of my life. Already the biggest game of my life. We got the national champ coming in, and I got Coach Moeller saying, go up there with Coach Bo and Coach Burton. I don't need you down here. And I'm like, I came up. And I remember Bo was looking down at the plays, and you know how he likes to get in the huddle, and he calls the plays.
Oh, yeah.
And he looks around, and he looks at me, and he goes, Coach Bowler send you up? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, watch your position. And that's what I did. And, towards the end of practice, I got my opportunities, get in there. And I got to run the plays just like the starters, but I had made it. I was like, whoa, I'm up here now. And it was like every day I was up there. I knew I was going to be a return guy. I knew I was on the kickoff return and everything like that. But a goal accomplished, but it wasn't the goal, but it was a goal accomplished.
Yeah.
And then it was just, I remember Coach Burton going in, make sure you go in and watch film. Make sure you study. Make sure. And that, studying football, I took it for granted, Jim. What are you, watching film? I mean, we watched film in high school, but, really, I watched myself.
I like to say we watched film. We didn't study it. And when you get to college, you were studying it to know how can I get better. And that's what the coaches do for you. They let you know this is what you need to do to be as good as you can possibly be.
Right. And Coach Burton was the one. If you ever want to play, you want to watch film, watch the blocking. And he started showing me how to watch film. So when we got into game week, I was watching the offensive linemen. They'll tell you where to go, the flow of the game. He taught me about steps. I never knew about steps. Jim, I knew, just give me the ball. I would stand there, just give me the ball and let me run. In high school, I was the fastest guy on the field.
Yep. And
9 times out of 10, something good would happen. So it was okay. It was okay. But this was different. You had to know your footing. Every play had a different step, and I learned it, and I turned it into dance. I turned it into dance. Now, what I didn't know is they give you a test before every game. Did you know that? I didn't know.
I got the same test, man. You got a test for running backs. I got a test for strong tackle. I got those tests.
And learning. I mean, if the running back crew don't do too well, guess what? You get woken up earlier before the game, and we have to go over the test again. And we'll get to this later. Remember this later, but as Jamie, my freshman year,
I was gonna say before a game, did you ever, like, in the hotel lobby or banquet hall, go through a walkthrough because they were sure they wanted you guys to get that happened to the O-line a lot too.
Oh my goodness, we were in campus in. Coach Burton would send knocking on the door. My roommate, I had a rolling cot. I didn't have my own bed. I had a cot because I was a throw-in, and I was fine. But see, I was in the hotel, Jim.
Yep.
I got to get on a bus and go up to the campus in, and I remember guys talking about it. And there's veterans on the team. There's upperclassmen on the team that have never gotten on that bus to go up to the campus in. So I'm sitting there going, wow. And I got my roller and it was Vince Bean. And I'm going to say one of the greatest knowledge people of the game, and he was a wide receiver, but he taught me how to be professional in college football.
Yep.
And, when you go down to, he taught me when you go down to the movie, because we did a movie before the game.
Yeah.
He taught me, you come sit at my table because people will take your food around here. It's that underclassman thing. I get it. But, he brought me through, and I survived. He was my roommate on the road. He taught me. I didn't care the underclassmen stuff, carry my bags. I carried his bag. I did whatever he wanted me to do. I was draining him of his knowledge, what he would think on the road. You can't clown around, Jim. It's a serious thing.
Yes, it is.
After the see, I was smiling all the time, and I had to take that smile off my face. And Vince said, "Now's not time to smile. Freshman, it's not time to smile." And I dropped that smile. Now time is to be quiet. I was looking for other guys that were my class, and there weren't many freshmen that traveled, that were in my group. So I had to be quiet and know when to be what I was. And Vince taught me those things. And I needed those things. Because look, for me, I'm from Air, Massachusetts. We played both ways. Most of the best athletes played both ways, and I've been doing that since my freshman year in high school. So I was I was pretty much thrown in there as a leader. I needed leadership that was going to take care of me, and they gave me the best guy, in my opinion, in Vince Bean. He took care of me and helped me out.
Those are great. Those are great stories. And the fact is that all of us had a guy like Vince Bean that helped us along when we were freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah, and you need that. You need that. Trust me. It's a different. We live in different societies all over in this world, and you always go into a new. I went into the Michigan Football Community Society, and I learned from Vince Bean. I learned what to do. I learned how to be quiet. I learned when it's your turn to speak, then you can speak. Or I didn't speak at all. You never heard from me. Why would you? I didn't know what was going on. And those were the things that he taught me. And then when we went on the road, and he told me, you are to be seen, not heard from. And those words I took seriously.
Yep.
So you never knew I was around you. You never knew. And I remember, and I think this was my freshman year, Bob Bergeron kicked a field goal that broke a record. And guess who was on the field when kicking it? Because he couldn't find a fullback to run in there. I ran in there, and I was on that end. In the film, Bo said, next time I want the fullback up by me. When I make a decision on a fourth down, I don't need a 5-foot tailback running in there and doing that. We got away with it, but I just laughed. Like, it was just funny. And I'm like, because Vince always said, make sure you stay in the coach's view. Always stay in their view, just in case they want to put you in. Look, he said they'll just throw you in sometimes, and then they'll say, "Who put him in there?" and it happens. So you'll get your opportunity. So I got a chance to play my freshman year in the first game. I got to run a draw play against the University of Miami.
Yeah, well,
so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and playing as a freshman was a big deal. But you also, I'm going to tell a story on you. Freshman year is '84, right? And I'm doing a book years ago. It's called Tales from Michigan Stadium. And I said, Jamie, I want to talk to you. You had set records. You were the all-time leading rusher. You had all this stuff going on. 3 years in a row, over 1,000 yards. You've got amazing numbers still in the record books at Michigan. But the first thing out of your mouth is, I know what you want to talk about. I fumbled the ball. And I looked at you like, what are you talking about? And you said and again, it must have been an indelible memory, but you said, in '84, I fumbled the ball when Jim Harbaugh broke his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I said, that's what you remember. And you said, yes. That, to me, it says so much about you that it wasn't all the touchdowns, it wasn't all the records, it wasn't all those good things, but it's that one mistake that you wish you had back. Is that correct?
Yeah, it still is. Look, everybody remembers the win. Look, we don't at Michigan, and I say this at Michigan because this is where I learned it. We don't remember all the wins and losses because those are the ones that you did things right. Pretty much did. You got an 80, between 80 and a 99 on your report, right?
Yep.
But we remember the losses. We remember all losses, no matter how small, how big the game, with the magnitude of the game or anything. But the one game that I remember, that I'll always remember, was against Michigan State my freshman year in the Big House. And the off tackle play that I ran, and I got hit, and the ball came loose, and Jim Harbaugh broke his arm. Now, I'm not. Yeah, a lot of things happen. I got hit early. As soon as I got the ball, I got hit. I didn't have a full grasp on that ball, but that's my fault. That's my job. I got to clamp down and put that ball away and have it tucked. I should have had both hands on that ball, trying to switch it over and trying to push off somebody off was not a good idea. That being said, I mean, you remember that, and then that was the change of our season because we were pretty good. I think we were still a good team if we maintained Jim Harbaugh in that season. I think we would have been a better team. I think our record would have been better.
Yeah, that was Bo's from a record standpoint. He was 6-6. That was the poorest record he had his entire career at Michigan.
Yeah.
But again, that Harbaugh injury was a key to that thing, and I'm the guy that says, Jamie, it's not all your fault, man. But you took that on your shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I still look at that game, and then all the things that could have happened, would have happened, different things like that. You when you make mistakes, you gotta wait a minute. You learn from them, you let them go, and you move forward. And that's what. But when we come back and reflect, you remember it.
Yeah,
it's always there in the back of my mind. It was always there. But that helped me. That helped me understand that game and what that game meant. That helped me understand. We're getting, Coach Schembechler would always say, you have the honor to hold that football. We're giving you that honor. And once you put that ball on the ground, you lose the right of that honor. So, you never, that was important. And, you don't want to be remembered as a fumbler. You don't want to be remembered as that's what happened. So I didn't want, and, being young, not understanding the game, you thought it was about you. It's really about that football and your teammates.
It is.
And that's what it's about. Those guys aren't going to tackle you unless you have the football. It took me that whole freshman year to realize that. But once I realized it, it was time to go.
Yep.
I mean, when the greatest season in my career at Michigan has to be my sophomore year, and that's because I saw hunger in everybody. I was hungry. Everybody was hungry, and Bo came back like Bo, and I mean I can only tell you what Big Johnny says. Guys that have been here, Russ Miller. Guys that had been there around him, he had a purpose. He had the way he was recruiting. He talked about winning national championships. We're gonna win the Big Ten, and all things will take care of itself. Winning us the national championship. When he was recruiting, he talked about winning the Big Ten, but we were gonna win that national championship. We're gonna get to that level. We're gonna play the team that we need to play, that we're going to beat home and on the road. You will never see us play the way we played last year in '84.
And you know what he told me? He told me in the '84 thing, he said, he told me all the time, he says, I learned every year. I learned about players. I learned about coaching. He says, one thing I learned about '84 is just never stop coaching attitude. And he said, in '85, when I came back, I made sure that I coached attitude. And you're just talking about it, that everybody was hungry. Everybody, and I developed from the top, because he was the one that was saying, this is not going to happen again. And all of you understood it and bought in. And it never did. It never did the rest of his career. He always coached attitude.
He did. He had a great senior class. I get the whole class thing being led by the senior class. They were hungry, and we just followed their suit. But Jim, most people will say the greatest game that we played in that '85 year was that Ohio State game. No, the greatest game that happened in '85 that told us what type of team we were was going down to South Carolina.
Yep.
When we got on that plane and going to South Carolina, there was an attitude. Nobody, there's no smiling. We were going to work. And them making us wait on that sideline was going crazy. And they played the Odyssey of 2006 and how their coach were all black and they had the fire ant defense and all of that. That just made Bo's speech even better. When he made that speech and we took that field, I mean, we waited for them, and waited for them. They were in for an ass whooping, and they got one.
They did indeed. You know, the other thing, Jimmy Harbaugh was your quarterback, and for many years, for 3 years, I think. And quarterbacks are that breed of guy that's the leader, the whatever. You're in the same backfield. Did you see the potential for him to be the coach that he is from when he was a quarterback?
Yeah. That 85 year, he came back and he dedicated himself. And he dedicated to that offense. He knew, and he would get mad at us because that defense was so good, and they kicked our ass in practice. And he wanted us to come back and give it back to them. And when we did, that's how we became a team within a team. We became the team. And we were telling ourselves, if we're going against the number one team in the country, we got to be the number one team on offense in the country. And we knew that we had to get better. And going to South Carolina, that proved it. I mean, we started out with Notre Dame. That right there the thing about Notre Dame, I mean, that was a huge game and it was a big game and we came in. But, I mean, we really totally displayed our offense and defense in South Carolina. I mean, our defense was dominating against Notre Dame in that opener. And, you know, we had the big fellas up front humping on the ball. And we were moving the ball well. We as a first game, we had first game jitters. We didn't score as many points as we should have against Notre Dame, but coming out against South Carolina, Jim, that was letting America know this ain't Michigan '84. This is a new team with a new attitude, and it's ready to play. And if you remember the Michigan replay, Bo Schembechler talking to his team following that South Carolina game, he had already said, "You're good. You had a great senior leadership. It's better than I've ever seen." And he had told us, if we keep doing the things that we do in practice, we will be even better at the end of the year. And everybody bought that. I mean, guys didn't go out. There was no going out. There was guys being serious. They took it serious. And you had some serious captains, too. Mike Mallory, Eric Caddis, and Brad Cochran. You had some guys.
Well, you had some serious players too. I mean, you had guys like Mike Hammerstein and Giovanni Johnson. You had Perriman. You had Colasar. I mean, you had some Jumbo. You had some great players on that team, and all of them, again, like you said, buying into the team thing and saying, "Hey, this is business. We're going to get this done, and nothing's going to happen like it happened a year ago." And that was evident. And you guys proved it all in the final. You played down in the Fiesta Bowl against Nebraska. Wasn't that the year?
Yeah, that's the year. That was the strength. That was the strength coach bowl game.
Yes.
You know, Nebraska, their strength coach was supposed to be the best in the country and everything against our strength coach, Mike Gibbs, who these two guys were in the forefront. They pretty much brought strength and conditioning. They made it born. They brought it to the forefront. And Mike brought as many weights as he could as the Nebraska coach did. So I'm like, I hope nobody's going in that weight room killing himself. Mike was serious. I mean, it was a big battle. And Bo even brought it up. Bo brought it up, saying that this is the strength coach bowl game.
No, and it was that. There was billed as that because all the Nebraska linemen were these huge, gigantic, really muscle-bound guys. And I remember that whole attitude was, they're not going to out-muscle us. I mean, they get all the publicity on that. But guess what? We're just as good and just as strong as they are. And a great second half after, fumbling the ball around a little bit. a great second half. You guys knocked Nebraska off, who could have been the number one team in the country that year. In '85, you could have been the number one team in the country. You could have beaten anybody.
Yeah, I look. We go into Iowa City, and that was that. You know what? I see this on the BTN a lot. I mean, and this is the funniest thing. And I'm just going to side note for a second, Jim. When CJ was born, he was born 3 weeks earlier than his due date.
Uh-huh.
And when we had CJ that night, I'm watching TV in the hotel. In the hospital room,
Uh-huh.
and the game that was on was that '85 game against Iowa. So, and it was just funny. I'm like, oh my god,
That is pretty funny.
but that game showed a lot. It was the ups and downs of Big Ten football. I mean, you had two teams that were ranked 1 and 2 that they went after it. They got after it. And, we had our chances, and we didn't take advantage of our chances. And a lot of people will try to, and they still do. They try to, talk or not catch that interception, but, there's a lot of things that could have happened there. I mean, we got as an offense, we didn't pick up some blitzes. We didn't do some things that we should have done that, that would have kept that Hawkeye offense off the field. We needed a first down and we didn't get it. There was a lot of things that in that game. I mean, we should have won that game. If people look at me and say, well, look, we should have won that game. But I know the best thing that's ever happened. I see that Jim Harbaugh making everybody upset by not getting on the center, because in those days, our offenses have the right to, hear the cadence, right?
Right.
And I remember us working on that, and Bo was a genius because he said to Jim, you go up there and you appeal to that official. You turn around, you appeal to that official, and if that son of a bitch doesn't give you what you need, he will the next time. I guarantee you. And I'll never forget that. And it was great.
And a great quarterback to have at that point, because Harbaugh would have done it. He'd have looked at that. He'd have absolutely done that, looked at the official and said, hey, can't hear the play. I mean, he was a perfect quarterback to have in that situation, wasn't he?
He was awesome. And you know what? Jim Harbaugh, we got blitzed on one particular play, and I'll remember this. He got chased out of the pocket. Gerald White came into his vision. He flipped that ball to Gerald White. It was supposed to go to the tight end, but there's no way he could make a throw without getting blasted by 3 guys that are from Iowa. And he flips it he flips it like a pitch.
Yeah.
Gerald catches it, turns upfield, and scores the touchdown. And we knew that's when we knew we could play. We could play against this team. We could beat this team. We can beat this team. To hell with their pink locker room.
that was so stupid. Hayden Fry's idea of getting the other team mentally down is painting the locker room pink. You were never down, Jamie. I count like 8 or 9 career and season records that you held at one time as a running back at Michigan for a guy that came in as maybe a wide receiver, maybe a kick returner. Pretty nice numbers. But you also did at the same time that Lorenzo White was kind of like the king of the Big Ten running backs at Michigan State. Perlis made him carry the ball like 50 times a game anyway. But did that competition get to you at all, that White was getting a lot of the publicity? You were still putting up numbers that were impossible?
You know what? He was their offense. Everything was predicated off of him. So, I mean, I got to know Lorenzo White, and we became friends my sophomore year. So we got a chance to talk, and I get it. He was Michigan State's offense. If Lorenzo White doesn't go, Michigan State doesn't go, and I get it. Here at Michigan, we had athletes. We had guys that you tried to stay off the trainers list. That's what you tried to do. You didn't want to have to come down on Sunday early morning getting treatment. You wanted to come down and say, hey, so, as angry as I got when I got taken out the game, I understood what Coach Burton was doing. So I was okay with everything. Now, the numbers, yeah, I got mad. Yeah, as an athlete, as a guy who's competitive, yeah, the first thing I opened up was how did he do in East Lansing? Oh, hell yeah. But you know what? The numbers were comparable if you look at the carries, like you said. I mean, yeah, I had 120. He had 100. He had 190, 200 yards on 40 something carries. I got 18, so I was kind of happy. He had to carry the ball 30, 40 times for Michigan State. Me, I got to carry the ball 18, 19 times. My highest was probably 25. And you know what? And we look at the other guys, what they were doing. We started sharing the ball. Gerald White was moved from he was the rotating guy. Okay, if he wasn't playing fullback, he was playing tailback. I came out the game. Now sophomore year was the year, I call it the year of the big back. And I was told myself I'm never going to get taking out the game again. So I went and saw Bo my junior year, and I said, and he goes, "What are you talking about, Morris?" I said, "Every time we get down there tight, I get a touchdown stolen from me or something like that. Oh, get out of my office!" And he threw me out. He was mad. So he comes in. If you remember, 86, we installed the wishbone.
Yeah.
We start running the wishbone, and Bo winks at me. I remember him when we were installing this. He winks at me and says, "Looks like you won't be coming out, huh?" And I'm like, "What? What did you say?" And I didn't get what he was talking about, but we were running the wishbone, and I wasn't getting taken out the game and stuff. But so I was in there with Perryman and White, and we were running that wishbone, and Jimmy was triple option. I'm like, wow. And I thought that was the greatest thing, but deep down, I'm like, oh, I don't get taken out the game. That's pretty cool. And I used it again, you cutting people and running the wishbone and different things like that. We got so good at it. It was a short yardage offense, but we got so good at it, we started running it on the field. It became part of the playbook, Jim.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, and we love the wishbone. I'm going to tell you, as running backs and offensive linemen, because those big guys up front. And as that offensive line, we were young. In '84, we had some veterans. In '85, those veterans left. Cabacino and Clay Miller left, but the guys that we added into that offense, they were incredible. They were hungry. They wanted to play. They've been playing backup roles, and they got to play. And that was incredible. I mean, in '86, we were a fine-tuned machine. The defense was still good, but your offense was even better now. It was a year improvement. You brought McMurtry in. You had Jokic. You had Colasar. You had the Derek Walker and Jeff Brown,
big tight ends.
I mean, you pick you choose your poison. That's what I said. Choose your poison.
And it was a tough offense to handle because there were so many weapons.
I mean, the worst game again. It's not the best game. The worst game of that year was Minnesota.
Yep.
Was Minnesota. I mean, Jim, we're playing national championship football. There's nothing in the way. If we continue playing the way we play, I mean, there's nobody that could get in the way if we're playing the way with the mindset we had. Coming out of the Fiesta Bowl, seeing how, and we did see this, seeing how Iowa played in that Rose Bowl. I'm not saying they embarrassed the Big Ten, but it made. Think about how we felt when we played Nebraska. Take that performance and put it into the Rose Bowl. It would have been a war with UCLA. So we were hungry.
Yeah, but you win it, I think, hands down.
And so we were angry. We came in angry that year. That year going into our '86 year, my junior year, we were angry and we took all of Bo's teaching, everything that he taught us in '85, and we applied the anger to it because we deserve. Look, we got beat on the field. We know we got beat on the field, but we knew it wasn't going to happen again, and we were not going to lose focus. Every game, we were going to get after everyone, and that's what we did. We got after everybody, and I remember the problem was is we had gotten film, the Ohio State Minnesota film. Okay.
Yep.
Worst thing that could have happened. Ohio State just destroyed Minnesota. But Minnesota just did not play, and it was in the Metrodome, and Minnesota just didn't play a good game. They got beat, and they got beat pretty bad, and you could see the defensive linemen were still in their stands while Ohio State's running around them, and we're not. And here's the problem, Jim: we're not watching Minnesota. We're watching Ohio State.
Yep. You're preparing for Ohio State, not Minnesota, and that was a mistake.
Right. Our mind was not on Minnesota. And here's the funny thing. And this is why I think this is the greatness of Bo Schembechler. When we got into that locker room and we got dressed and we went out and ran around and got loose and everything, he came back in and he did not give us that speech to go out and destroy. He let us know that we weren't prepared for this game 2 days. He let us know that we didn't work hard enough to win this game at this moment. And he hoped that we could go down, deep down, inside ourselves and find it and win. Because we're not prepared for that Minnesota team that's taking the field today. And we didn't know what he was talking about. We destroyed everybody in front of us. But he said, I hope we got enough today because we didn't do it in practice this week. Too much smiling, too much ass kiss, too much horse and cow. And I said, we all looked at one another and, it's Minnesota.
Yeah, he was
knew.
smart that way. He knew stuff before it happened. A couple more questions, Jamie. Your biggest rushing day, 234 against Alabama down in Tampa. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't see it coming. Look, he wasn't. I mean, Bo wasn't there, obviously.
Yeah, Mo was coaching.
Right. Smartest thing Mo ever did. He got us mentally prepared, got our minds off of Bo, where Bo was, let us have a little freedom. He didn't practice he made the starters watch their position. The underclassmen ran the plays, backups ran the plays. It was more relaxed, enjoy yourself. You played enough football, you know what you need to do. We had a good bowl practice anyway. We were leading up to the game. So when we got to Florida, I think he wanted to pull it back a little bit because we were getting after one another. Because he told us, remember, he's always watching you. He's always watching you. And we went and saw him, which is kind of emotional. The seniors went and saw him and got a chance to see him. And you see all the tubes going through him and everything.
Yeah, he had the heart problem and he couldn't go to that game.
Right. So I didn't see it, but I knew I needed something big to happen. And it wasn't just me. It was the guys that were in front of me. If you look at that game, Jim, you could have ran through those holes. I mean, the way that they were hitting, the way we came out and exploded on that team and got after them, I don't think they thought that we were going to do what we did. And we were reminded that, hey, you're the only team that's playing this. You're the only two teams that are playing on January 2nd. So everybody in the nation's watching you. which it should be because it's Alabama, Michigan.
Yep.
And that's how Mo got us ready for that game.
Well, you did a great job in that game. After that, you went on to the NFL. You played in Washington a little bit. It never happened, but you have a distinction of you carried it 45 times in a season finale. I mean, is that still a record in the National Football League, number of carries?
It is. But, I mean,
you've got that to hang on, don't you, in the NFL, don't you?
I do. No, Jim, I'll always hold that on. That was, and you know who held the record before me?
Who?
Was the other Michigan Wolverine, Butch Wolfo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He had it at 43, and I got it at 46. So, I mean, it was that's kind of crazy. But I mean, look, that was that team, that Cincinnati team that went to the Super Bowl that played the Joe Montana down in Miami.
Yep.
And they won that game. I think Jerry Rice was the MVP. But yeah, we went down to Cincinnati, and we didn't punt once that game, but I really didn't know it was 45 carries until someone told me, and I'm like, what? Nah, you guys are lying to me, because you know. You don't think when you're in the game, you don't feel that, Jim. You know.
No, you're just you put your hand in the dirt and next play, let's go. You don't really
exactly.
You don't really think of that. The other thing I want to ask you about that is you've what a great opportunity though. Joe Gibbs is considered one of the great coaches in the National Football League. You had an opportunity to play for him. Can you compare and contrast him with Bo in any way?
Oh God, yeah, they're night and day, but they're the same.
Now that's interesting. I mean, explain that one.
Well, I mean, Joe Gibbs is a very religious man. He doesn't really use choice words to get you ready and everything like that. If he says "God dang it," that means coach is pissed. You know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that being said, he expects you, just like Bo. I've worked with you. I've gotten you ready. He expects you to give everything you got on the field. He's got the same intensity. He's got that same competitive hunger that Bo had. And he would get, hey, if he didn't see it, he would get up into your face and make sure you understand how the coach felt. And trust me, he may not was as loud as Bo, but you felt him. You knew what he wanted, and that's the good thing about Joe Gibbs.
And now you're
both.
Yeah, I was going to say now you're a radio guy. Now you're working at TKA. What is your show? You have an afternoon drive show, right? Yeah,
I have an afternoon drive show. It's from 3 to 6. It's on WTKA, and it's called the M Zone. And it's sports talk radio, but it's Michigan based. I mean, it's here in Ann Arbor, and we're going to talk Michigan football. We're going to talk Michigan sport in general. And things that are what's happening at the university, but we'll touch on national things too. We'll talk about what's going on, and right now everything's going about football and different things like that. And we're going through a pandemic, and people are looking for, do you have any answers or anything like that? So they're looking for some type of answers or anything like that. Jim, we don't have the answers, but you know what? We can speculate just like the rest of everybody else.
Yep. Last question, Jamie. The pandemic has caused the cancellation of the Big Ten schedule in the Pac-12 and the Mid-American Conference. Other conferences may be going ahead. As we tape this, we're not sure yet. But what's your take on all of this and the Big Ten opting out?
I mean, look, I wish we would have waited a little bit longer, experts. But you know what? As I read more and I see the things why what medical experts are saying and everything like that, I know it's really the kids and the coaches, and you got to take them and what it means to them. I get that there has to be decisions made, and these decisions have got to be right for as long as it's good for the student athlete. And if you're really taking care of the welfare of the student athletes, their health in general, I gotta believe that that's what they're doing. Then I'm sad to see that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceled college football. I think if you would have given it more time, maybe the experts can. I mean, when you set a schedule, you're giving people hope, and everybody's talking about this schedule, and everybody's looking at it. You could have backdated those. You could have, given yourself time because you left yourself opening so you could do that. But I guess the president wanted to make decisions, and they needed to because students are coming on campus. Regular students are coming on campus soon, and decisions had to be made. That being said, I wish nothing but the best for the Big Ten. I hope it's the right decision, but we'll see. I guess we're going to have to see. And when you see the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC are on a wait and see basis, it makes you wonder.
Yep.
I think these Power 5 conferences, these 5 conferences, should have come together and worked together on making decisions. But I get it; they're regional. These are regional decisions too.
No, I agree with you, and I think your comment is right. It's a wait and see thing because with this COVID virus, you never know what's going to pop up. If there are some increases, if there's a hot spot that develops, who knows? I mean, and you've got to, I think, err on the side of caution if you're going to err anywhere. And I think that's what the Big Ten did. But I'm like you. I wish they would have waited a little bit. More information means, more knowledge. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see whether the decision is the right one or not. Who knows? But you've been the right decision to be involved in my conversations with. I can't thank you enough for joining us, Jamie. What a great talk. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. And you pulled some stuff out of me. I didn't know I was very emotional about Coach Burton.
That's the best part about things like that. When you feel that, we're not just doing something for TV. We're doing something that strikes at your heart. And that's what I think most people understand. And I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
You bet, Jamie. Jamie is one of those guys that after you talk with him or meet him, you leave with a smile. He has an infectious personality. He was a great player at Michigan and offered some great insight into the mind of a competitor who worked and willed his way into the record books. Keep an eye on my Facebook page, Jim Brandstatter76, and my Twitter account, @JimBrandstatter, for more information on upcoming episodes of Conversations With. You can also find them on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also go to thebrandyshow.com or jimbrandstatter.com and navigate your way to both Season 1 and Season 2 episodes of Conversations With.